Hi, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, it's free. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. 4, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And 5, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Enjoy!
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Marketer Pitch Podcast, Season 2, Episode 23, and the 11th episode of actually Season 2. I'm one half of your co-host, Corey Davis, and I'm joined by the greatest ever co-host of the Marketer Pitch Podcast, Jason Reynoso.
Hello, Marketer Pitch family. How's everyone doing? Happy episode 11, aka volume 23.
And can you believe this is the second to last episode of this season? It's went by so fast.
I wish I could have an emoji that could openly express my emotions, but yes, it is stunning to believe, but in a positive way. The Marketer Pitch Season 2 journey will soon be coming to a close. This is indeed our second to last episode, and I cannot even begin to tell you just already the incredible moments and discussions that we've had with you, Corey, and to our entire Marketer Pitch family. It's been such a tremendous ride, and we're very much looking forward to putting a bow onto this season and further expanding our horizons.
Yes, definitely. And look for more intel to come over the next few weeks and months. Yesenia and I have something special planned for the summer. Hopefully the return of our intermission series. So definitely stay tuned to our social media pages, our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube pages, Marketer Pitch. Because of that, we'll be sharing some great news about some of our upcoming plans when it comes to more content.
Absolutely, my friends. And on top of the potential return of the intermission series, we're also going to be revealing exclusive details as to our new general podcast season number 3. So you definitely want to tune in to our final episode of the season, volume 24, and as well as our social media channels and other mediums for those major announcements. And Corey, do you happen to have any other housekeeping announcements that you would like our fellow members and our followers to know about?
No, that's it so far. But I do want to say for this episode, I do want to say happy belated holidays to everyone who celebrated Easter or Passover or Ramadan. There's a lot of holidays that are going on. I believe there's also a traditional Hindi holiday too. Forgive me on the name. So definitely, whatever holiday that you celebrated, I really hope that everyone got to have the opportunity to spend time with family and friends, and just really enjoy the any time off that you may have had.
Yes, absolutely. Happy holidays to everyone involved. All of your happy festiveness for all of your celebrations. And again, if many blessings to all of you. I'm very much looking forward to the continuation of those celebrations, and as well as traditions.
Yep.
So, yep.
And as we enter a new week, I do want to acknowledge that this week is Earth Day, which is happening on Friday, April 22nd. So, or if it's after April 22nd, Earth Day has passed. But on Earth Day, that's one day for the whole world to come together and to really combat and fight climate change, fight the deforestation of our forest, and to fight back against the destruction of our planet. So everyone's on this Friday, spend the day at least maybe taking a walk instead of a drive, maybe turning off those lights instead of having them running, stop watching TV, go outside, listen to this podcast. But it just acknowledged that our planet is only going to be as good as we treat it, and if we want to continue a better planet, we got to take better care of it.
On top of better care, Corey, I highly recommend everybody to obtain and educate themselves on the importance of climate change, climate advocacy, and climate justice, as many of those topics are intertwined with what is happening in our world. It is incredibly important as we continue to promote sustainability across all industries. It is incredibly important that we continue to decrease our carbon footprint, look for alternative green options, and continue taking care of our planet the way as it should be, because this is Mother Earth. We need to cherish it as such. And as we continue to transition onto a much more green future, it is incredibly important to ensure that our children, our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren are left with a habitable environment and planet that animals, plants, and all living species can call home. So let's make a huge effort to sustain that.
Yes. And before we do begin, and thank you for saying that. That's actually I do want to highlight that's a very great statement, Yesenia. So definitely thank you for acknowledging and saying that.
Well, thank you, my friend.
But so before we begin, I do want to go back a couple of episodes where I said that I would do this. So I'm honoring my bet. When I incorrectly picked Arizona to win the March Madness tournament. So if you go back to episode 9 of season 2, I made that claim when we started talking about March Madness. I said Arizona. We all know they were beaten by Houston in the Sweet 16. They didn't even get further than that. So Kansas actually ended up winning the whole. They beat UNC to win the whole caboot. And that's also going to be the end of me predicting sports. So, yeah, just do not even pay attention to any sports predictions that I have in the future, because I will be wrong.
Corey, at least you tried, and that's what all that matters. And also, I have to say, I have to give a shout out to St. Peter's. I mean, I did not even know that little university in Jersey City, New Jersey, was going to make such huge noise. And you got to give them props. They made it all the way to the final 8. They lost
Elite 8. Yep.
Elite 8. Thank you. They lost to North Carolina, and I'm not a basketball person, but it's always nice to see Cinderella stories come out of nowhere and really, shake, I should say, the NCAA tournament. So congratulations to St. Peter's. Congrats to all of the teams on both the men's and the women's side. South Carolina, I think Gamecocks won the women's tournament. So congrats to them and to the Kansas Jayhawks for winning the men's side. So congrats to all of the basketball teams who made this year's NCAA tournament another fun one, and very much looking forward to next year, even though I'm not a basketball person.
Yeah, and speaking of which, the Gamecocks, the women, I was going to add, as well as Dawn, who is their coach. She is the winningest Black male or female coach in NCAA history, no matter the sport. So definitely congratulations to her, because she has taken that team from South Carolina and dominated and almost created a new UConn for women's basketball.
And major props and respects to her for building a legacy of her own that many people inspired will now have the inspiration to emulate.
Yes. So with that, let's get into our meal for today. So similar to the good things, we heard some great things about our tapas format a couple of episodes ago. I do want to bring that back for this episode. So as a reminder, we start with an appetizer, which is our perspective, our take on a trending news topic. But today, we're going tapa style, like as I just mentioned. And the entire episode will be filled with trending news topics that are, I want to get Yesenia's opinion, and topics that, we like to discuss back and forth. And I know for sure we're not going to have room for the entree. We're going for dessert. We're going to get into this dish, and we're going to go back and forth. So if you're hungry, ready to eat, Yesenia, let's get into it.
I got my stomach is ready, Corey. Let's do this.
Perfect. And we're going to take a little break and come back. And when we come back, we're going to have your first appetizer. Welcome back, everyone, to season 2 of the Market to Pitch podcast. We're getting ready to get into our first appetizer. Reminder, we're doing tapa style, back and forth, multiple topics. So the first one I mentioned that it was Earth Day. Do you know another holiday that's coming up this week, Yesenia?
Not that I know of from the calendar.
Okay.
Am I missing something?
Yes. So we're going to start this episode off with a high note, pun intended, because April 20th is here, or like most people know it as 420 Day, or the day that all pot smokers celebrate by smoking more pot as opposed to every other day they smoke pot. But this year, brands are starting to get bold with a few campaigns targeting the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So get this, Wingstop, they announced a new Blaze and Glaze wing flavor that is crafted with a blend of hemp seeds, strawberries, and cayenne pepper. Sounds pretty good, actually. And they said the new flavor will taste like 420, similar to how barbecue tastes like 4th of July or turkey tastes like Thanksgiving. They want this wing to taste like 420. And then, not to be outdone, sandwich maker Jimmy John's is getting in on the fun by offering a whole town in Colorado, Leadville, Colorado, which is 2,742 residents, a free sandwich to the highest people in the entire country. So the reason why they went to this place in Colorado is because it's located at 10,000 feet above sea level, which is the highest city in the United States. And that whole town will get Jimmy John's on 420 to celebrate. So between those interesting antidotes and just looking further into cannabis advertising, because I do want to bring this back to our industry, according to Forbes, 43% of cannabis companies increased their advertising since the COVID pandemic began as consumption increased. But the challenge is something that I do want to discuss with you, Yesenia, especially as a communicator, is messaging and how to get their messaging out there without causing controversy. Because one, marijuana is still illegal on the federal level. A lot of states, majority of states are still illegal. And also there's a big compliance issue around advertising on certain platforms when it comes to marijuana and how they view it on the same level as drugs as like cocaine or heroin. And then even Google and Facebook, we know those are the two biggest digital platforms. They pretty much have banned cannabis advertising on their sites. So, which is also funny, they do it at alcohol brands. So what's your thoughts on cannabis advertising in the future? Because for me, I think it's one area where I feel we need a change because I create cannabis no different than alcohol. And if you can have alcohol advertisements, why can't you do cannabis?
Yeah.
But also on the flip side, some people think cannabis is also the gateway drug. So as a communicator, like how do you wrap your head around this as far as a new wave of advertising?
Well, I think
a new haze of advertising.
Well, Corey, I think we can all agree that for many decades, cannabis / marijuana was used as a gateway drug. The stigma that that was plagued during between the 1960s and all the way through the 90s and still present today, as it greatly affected Black and Brown communities. It really was a major Black dent in our history, and as well as causing pain to so many countless families and neighborhoods. However, as we now shift towards the future, many people start educating themselves more about cannabis, the benefits of it, and as well as it being less known as a gateway drug and more like, like a cigarette or something that is used for recreational and medical purposes. The stigma, I can't say the word stigma. You get the word that I want to point out there, Corey.
It's all good. We get it.
But the stigma of it is decreasing, and it's doing so more every day. And now, as we look into this, into our current present day, I think we're all going to make it abundantly clear: marijuana is going to be legalized across all 50 states eventually. That's where we're heading towards. And so, as communicators, we are entering into a new frontier, especially for those who work not only in the cannabis section, but also those who work in the food industry, perhaps in the hospitality, the spirit industry and advertising, PR, and the public affairs and government sector, where we're going to be start talking about cannabis communications. And what I mean by that, as states begin to legalize marijuana, there is a new terrain to map out that that must be considered from municipalities, from the state, from local, state, and federal. Endless amount of regulations, the health and safety, the controversy, and the political maneuvering that goes behind it. And so, as many, I think we can also agree, Corey, that cannabis is a billion-dollar industry that continues to be on a rise and is getting more popular by the day. And so as more brands start to venture out into the cannabis industry, start learning more about its mechanisms, and figuring out ways as to how can we properly construct and amplify effective messaging on that front, I think it's pretty clear to assess the landscape and being able to properly identify the messaging, the channels, and the mediums where most of these audiences are going to be living, the best formats, and how often to transmit or pitch to them, and as well as developing partners who are also well versed in the industry, and those partners and sponsors that directly tie to what the brand is looking for from a storytelling element.
Yes, and I agree with all. I definitely agree with all of that, and I'm curious to just wonder what implications do brands have if they do advertise in these places, like and by brands I'm not talking about cannabis companies. I'm talking about brands such as Jimmy John's and Wingstop and the other, and I believe Taco Bell is doing some execution around 420. But what's the perception around audiences? Is that something where it's in line with audiences what they care about, or are we still having a hoopla where, of course, young Gen Z millennials would like the advertising, but are parents really looking at Jimmy John's or Wingstop and saying I'm not going to support my business because they support drug use? That's the only thing I don't. I would love to know more research about that. I don't know.
Well, that's it, and that's where the new frontier comes in, Corey, because we still are, we're still dealing with perception that marijuana is still viewed as a gateway drug.
Exactly.
Many parents, have conservative values who still have that judgment that that marijuana and cannabis should never be used. And again, it's due to the discrepancies of what society has labeled the drug in the past. Again, it's going to come down to education. It's gonna come down to presenting cannabis as as more of a recreational drug that does that does not cause any damage whatsoever, and also for brands to slowly start understanding and developing messaging that that's gonna connect with audiences.
Yeah. So let's put a top pin on that one. I want to get on to our second little appetizer. And that is around the metaverse and diving into the virtual world of the metaverse. So are you familiar with the metaverse, Yesenia? I'm assuming people have heard of the metaverse.
I do indeed have.
Okay.
I have talked about it through my communications entity, Y Communicate. I have talked about it.
Yes, and for everyone at home is pretty much familiar with the metaverse. It's Meta's obviously owned by Facebook, and it's their virtual world where you live, breathe, sleep, you do everything in your current life, but you just do it in a virtual standpoint. And they're really ratcheting up these different worlds and universes and the laws and things that come around it. But of course, like anything that's new, right behind that is a commercial element for it and people wanting to make money. So, following Meta's lead, Nike, along with other food, entertainment, and retail companies, have started to file trademarks to sell virtual goods through the metaverse. So, Arby's is one where they filed paperwork to sell virtual food and drinks. Amex, American Express, they're looking to offer banking in the metaverse, so virtually. And then McDonald's is actually looking for ways for people to order food in the metaverse and receive an actual delivery at their actual home. So these are very cool ideas, but I do wonder just the scale of the metaverse. And this is something that's going to be similar to like the Google Glass, where glasses, where people are interested in this fad, but it's not sustaining. Or is it something that in the next 20 years, we're really going to be living partial part of our lives in the metaverse, communicating through our banking in the metaverse, communicating with our neighbors in the metaverse, even eating in the metaverse with our friends and family. So, just like, what's your thoughts just from an industry standpoint, Yesenia, as far as if you had a client that says I want to be in the metaverse, would you recommend that? Do you think do you think this really is the future, or do you think it's a fad?
I think first and foremost that the metaverse is it's an online collective virtual space developed by the convergence of the physical and digital worlds, where basically avatars are going to be able to connect and communicate with one another through through this augmented reality. I also talked about if you guys are not following me on my on my corporate platforms on why communicate at why.communicate on Instagram, why communicate on LinkedIn, and why underscore communicate on Twitter. I talk about I did two reels about the metaverse and its role in the PR industry. The storytelling element is going to be big in the metaverse because there's going to be a lot of areas industry wise where the metaverse is going to be used, like luxury travel, food, sports, uh, real estate, um, entertainment slash media, and all of these other industries where there is going to be a connection between consumers and audiences in identifying spots in where they're going to be able to transmit messaging slash storytelling, but also develop an experience, because that's what it's all about. It's all about developing experience in the metaverse, and and it and it opens the door to endless possibilities on the communications front, because there is, for us PR pros, it combines multiple elements to producing a digital universe where people can connect on both the personal and professional levels. And the metaverse also started in the gaming industry. That's where the metaverse actually started to go. However, we're still in this uncharted territory because it brings out, some of the cons, which includes crisis communications, and as well as issues management. I think that is also something that that needs to be elaborated further. Reputation management, I should say.
Yeah, and then you know me, I like to bring it back to just equity and race. One thing that kind of worries me, concerns me, is the whole world metaverse isn't cheap, and we know just in general, Black and Brown communities are impacted by technological issues, as we saw during the pandemic, where a lot of Black and Brown underserved communities had issues with working remotely, working from home, and having fast enough internet connection for schooling online. So with the metaverse, and we're entering a wave of people living virtually through their avatars, are you leaving a subset or a large group of people out of the conversation because they don't have access or means to actually live their lives and operate in the metaverse? And you're going to turn a whole world into looking like Vermont, where it's like 99% white.
And and that's also a key topic to discuss. There is the equity element that goes around this. The metaverse is still in the early tech subcategory stages. there's still a lot of unanswered questions as to the overall direction is going to go. While there is, again, a lot of opportunity, there's also a lot of risk at the same time. And so as communicators start to devise communications plan towards the metaverse and figuring out specifically which industries the metaverse are beneficial for these brands and how is it going to be utilized, I think we also have to understand the accessibility part as well. How many of these groups are going to be accessible to the metaverse? Is it going to be easy for everyone to get access? Is it going to be restricted towards specific groups? And if so, by how much? All of these elements need to be answered and are still being answered as we continue to navigate through this uncharted territory.
Yes. And with that, I think we should put a button not only on that topic, but the episode. There's another topic I wanted to get into, but I feel like we can maybe save it for the last episode. So I think this brings us to the conclusion of episode 11 of season 2 of the Marketer Pitch podcast. I definitely thank you guys for listening today. I hope our conversation has been at least a little bit enlightening to your world. And if you have any thoughts or any comments to anything that we discuss, please tweet us, DM us on Instagram, or just email us at marketerpitch@gmail.com.
Thank you, Corey. That that was such an informative episode to talk about the metaverse and as well as the cannabis industry. Two different industries that are on the rise, respectively, and as well as some of the brand risk that come along with it. And I'm very much looking forward to exploring those industries further in depth in due time. But thank you, everybody, for listening into episode 11, aka volume 23. If you have not yet, please subscribe to our podcast, hit those subscribe buttons, and as well as like, share, follow, comment on all of our social platforms on Twitter and Instagram at Marketer Pitch. This episode, and as well as previous episodes, all of season 1 and the intermission series Freestyle, are available across all major podcasting mediums, YouTube, and Thursday mornings on the Helium Radio Network at 6:30 a.m. And as Corey mentioned, if you have a comment or question, email us at marketerpitch@gmail.com. Finally, we have not forgotten about the Wisdom app, and those details, along with so many other surprises, are going to be revealed starting with our last episode of the season. So do not miss it. Marketer Pitch, volume 24, aka episode 12, the season finale. So tune in. You don't want to miss it. Like I said, we're putting a bow on season 2 and very much looking forward to all the surprises that are going to be coming up to the Market or Pitch universe for our entire community. So Corey, get those pom-poms, balloons, and champagnes ready, because I am so stoked as to what's going to be coming up on the pipeline.
Same. And with that, I want to thank you everyone for a great episode, a great day, and please enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good one all.
Thanks, everyone.